Well, hello everybody. You know, I wanted to give you an update on where I'm at with the Rad Power bike and the repairs that I've been attempting to make and where all that stands right now. It's, to say the least, it's been a big challenge. Now, if you're not at all handy, I wouldn't recommend that you take on any of these repairs. So, what's been happening? Well, I rode the bike for 36 miles and the motor stopped, basically. There was no power to the throttle. There was no pedal assist. So I contacted Rad and they put me through a bunch of troubleshooting tests and I ran all through those. And then they said, well, it's probably the wiring harness or the controller. So they sent me a new wiring harness and eventually sent me a controller. Now I got the controller first, I got the wiring harness first, and it took a couple more weeks to get the controller. So in the interim, between getting the wiring harness and I installed that, and then the controller came, and I tried to install the controller, and I got everything was installed. I got the controller installed, I got it up in the tube. You can watch my previous videos. And that all worked out well. I got to the last point, and the top battery lock that goes in just below the controller in the down tube, I couldn't get that in there. And I was just frustrated. So what I did was I thought, I'm just gonna pack the bike up, take it back to Michigan, contact Rad, and then find a repair shop here in Michigan and have the repair shop put the battery lock in. Actually, I emailed Rad before we left Florida and I never heard back from him. I was back in Michigan for, oh gosh, at least a week. And you know, lo and behold, I get this survey in my email, and it wasn't a glowing survey that I filled out. In fact, I told them that, you know, I emailed them, same ticket as the original, and I'd never heard from them. Well, they read the survey apparently, and then they got back to me, and they told me to take the bike to either a repair shop on the south side of Grand Rapids or one down in Kalamazoo. And the one on the south side of Grand Rapids is REI. So I thought, well, that's the closest. It's about 35, 40 miles away. So I called them up, and the guy said, we're not a Rad Service Center. And he says, I don't know why Rad keeps sending us people. He said, we don't really do electrical work. He said, and I explained to him how, you know, the battery lock, just getting it up in the tube. And he said, well, bring it down, I'll look at it. And I said, well, it's just a battery lock. And I'm going to drive a 60, 80 mile round trip just so you can look at it and maybe tell me no. And he says, yeah. He says, I'm not going to work on it any other way. And he wasn't interested, really. So the other option was Kalamazoo, which is over 100 miles away, one way. So I thought that, you know, that my options just aren't there for a service center here in West Michigan. You know, and where I'm at, not including the Kalamazoo area, where I'm at in the metropolitan area, there's over 1.5 million people. And there's not an authorized Rad Service Center. It's kind of crazy. So the only option that I had left was to install the battery lock myself. I haven't done that yet, so this is kind of a preamble to that whole process, just to bring you up to date. I'm going to jump into it here pretty soon because the weather's nice. We have beautiful rail trails in Michigan, and I have an expensive bike that I haven't been able to use. So that's where I'm at. And you know, I guess I don't know more. I don't know what more to say, except, you know, the Rad service has kind of failed me. And so at this point, I'm on my own. So you might want to think about that if you're going to buy a Rad bike, and it's probably not different for any other e-bike. So the one thing that I might suggest if you're going to buy an e-bike is to be handy, or have a friend or relative that's quite handy and can repair things, because they're going to break and you're going to need repairs, and there's nowhere to go essentially. Now, on the positive side with Rad, it's a great bike. I really enjoyed riding it. I only put 36 miles on it. It was a blast. I look forward to getting out here on the rail trails here in Michigan and putting some more miles on it. But I haven't even tested the controller yet, so I don't know when that's going to happen. And the controller might not be the issue. It could be the motor. So, then there we go again. I don't have a repair shop nearby that can replace the motor. So I don't know, that's speculating on the future, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to finish up what I've got to do here with the battery lock, test it out, hopefully it'll work, and I'll be up and riding. So that's where I am. So what's going to follow here is shortly just some videos of me getting the controller, or actually the battery lock, installed and testing the bike to see if it's going to work, and who knows. Hopefully that'll do the trick. Maybe it won't, but we'll go from there after I see what happens. Okay, I didn't mention that I have a few tricks up my sleeve for when I'm installing the battery lock, top battery lock. So you'll want to stay tuned for those tricks. They may be helpful for you working on your Rad power bike, or working on anything else that where you're working in tight spaces. So stay tuned for those tricks, and those will be in the video when I shoot the video about installing the top battery lock. So we will talk about that when we get to it.